Turning to a wrap of your top stories of the day, we are on top of breaking news right now in South Charlotte, where at least 6 people are injured after an early morning apartment fire. This is a live look at the scene on Winter Oaks Lane, right off of South Boulevard and Sharon Road West. We know at least 3 of those victims have life-threatening injuries. Richard Devane should be arriving on scene in just minutes. We'll have much more coming up in a report over on WCNC Plus.
All right, folks, take a look at your screen. An Amber Alert in effect here in North Carolina this morning for 13-year-old Valeria Hernandez, missing since June 25th. Last seen getting off a bus in Raleigh. She's described as 4'11", 180 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. If you know anything, call police. And as Central Texas continues to deal with the aftermath from deadly flooding, our parent company Tegna collecting donations for those impacted. Take out your phone, scan the QR code on your screen. That's going to take you to information you need. There'll be also be a phone bank later today. Tune in at 5 and 6 for more information on how you can help.
We have a traffic accident in Fort Mill, or just north of Fort Mill this morning on I-77 near Gold Hill Road. So prepare for backups if you're traveling northbound from South Carolina. This is a look right now. At this time, the shoulder is blocked, so traffic is moving, but very slowly, and it's stop and go at times.
It's a cloudy and foggy start for some, so we do have some visibilities dropping down below a mile. This is going to hit its lowest level likely over the next hour or so. We'll be tracking it over on WCNC Plus, also tracking storms over there as well. 2 to 9, that's the main window. Flooding, gusty winds, lightning, and it's very similar to yesterday. I just think it's more impactful this afternoon compared to what we saw yesterday. Extended forecast, bunch of 90s each day, a rain chance, but we're not weather alert after today.
My good news there. A reminder, the news does not end here. We are live all day long with breaking news, weather, and traffic.
We're streaming now on WCNC Plus. That starts in just a few minutes at 7 a.m. We'll see you there.
Streaming live right now at 7 a.m. right here on WCNC Plus. I'm Ben Thompson.
And I'm Megan Bragg in for Lisa.
We continue to stay on top of breaking news happening in South Charlotte. We first broke this news over on our broadcast over on WCNC Charlotte, and it is still an active scene there. Live pictures right now of what was an apartment fire on Winter Oaks Lane. This is just off South Boulevard and Sharon Road West, just about a mile or so west of the Quail Hollow neighborhood. Earlier, just about 30 minutes ago, we learned that at least 6 patients were taken to the hospital, including 3 with life-threatening injuries, 1 with serious injuries. This all happening at what's called the Aria Station apartment complex. Richard Mebane is on his way there. He should be arriving momentarily. At that point, we hope to get a little bit more information. You can see, though, still a number of first responders from medic, police, fire as well. We know the fire chief arrived on scene in the last 30 minutes or so. We are expecting to get an update from him via news conference at some point, but we've not been given a timeline for that. Our photographer also on scene telling us that there are arson investigators that have arrived. That does not necessarily mean that this is an arson. They send a variety of investigators to a situation like this, especially when it seems to be so large and so many people injured. So we'll keep you updated as we learn more right here on WCNC Plus.
Thanks a lot, Ben. We have a cloudy start to the day, but some of us are seeing a little bit of sunshine, so check it out. It's a little bit of blue off in the distance, barely, but oh, Lylesville, look at you, looking gorgeous. Now, we do see a developing thunderstorm off into the distance, but this is actually pointing south, and that's where we are seeing some storms. But today is another day that we have a chance for excessive rainfall, aka heavy rain that could flood. That's a medium threat across the Charlotte area over to the east, but it's this zone that's under a flood watch for a continuous time frame until further notice because the amount of rain that has rolled through. And each afternoon over the next 7 days has a chance for a pop-up thunderstorm. It's just today has the best chance for more widespread showers and thunderstorms. That's one of 2 reasons why we're going weather alert today. It's the strong thunderstorms to severe thunderstorms that we could see, but then also the flooding potential. Those who saw up to 3 inches of rain yesterday have the best chance for overwhelming streams and gutters and some of those drains. 2 to 9, I think, is where we're going to have the heaviest rain and the highest chance for a severe storm. Tornado risk, none. Large hail, none. It's only a chance for damaging winds and gusts up to 60 miles per hour. But regardless, you're going to see those winds pick up. It's called the outflow boundary. That's where it rains, cool air forms, and it pushes out, and that actually causes a wind or a gust front. So whenever you hear the winds pick up rapidly, it means a thunderstorm is nearby, at least in today's scenario. We have a little bit of rain, especially down towards the south. Check this out. Right here down to the southeast, the eastern side of Union County, pushing closer to Wadesboro and Anson County. So you're going to be seeing some rain here pretty shortly, and a few light rain showers also now close to China Grove. Lincolnton area has been the foggiest. We're still seeing visibilities down to about 1/4 to 1/2 mile in some places, but we have patchy dense fog all over the place. So it's cloudy, foggy, and a little damp depending where you're at. Here's a look at our futurecast. We can see some on and off rain showers for the near term. I think the thunderstorms really start to redevelop between about 11 and noon up in the mountains. That was the same time that we had yesterday. During the noon, I saw 1 shower pop up around 11 o'clock, and then we had widespread rain across the mountains and the foothills by about 1 o'clock. And I think the same time frame goes. After 2, they start pushing their way down towards the southeast. So we could have a storm as early as 3 o'clock around Gastonia, Gaston County, and around Huntersville. But I think it's really between 3 and 7 that we see most of the storms across the greater Charlotte area. But watch what happens. I think you're going to see the strongest thunderstorms south of I-85. In this zone, it looks to be the most unstable. And at that point, you're going to have the best storm fuel. And then notice how these start to cluster together. Whenever storms cluster together, and especially if they start to form a line, let's see what happens. A general line right here. That's your best chance for some damaging winds. So you could also see the chance for even a little bowing segments that would allow for more widespread wind damage compared to just a wet microburst where you have the winds that drop out from the thunderstorm. By about 9 o'clock, you have some lingering light rain, but we'll only have a lingering thunderstorm around Wadesboro and Rockingham. But I think our severe weather window is closing at that point. Now, I would say there's a standard deviation about an hour with this, so things could still slow down about an hour or so. That would keep our storm window open just a little bit later until about 10 o'clock, but should be clear by Charlotte by then regardless. How much rain is going to fall today? Not much, honestly. It's a lot less than what we had yesterday, but this is kind of in perspective of where you live. If you lived around Uptown, you said it didn't really rain, Chris. If you lived around Lincolnton, you said, man, it poured. So it just depends. It's the isolated to scattered nature of this that some areas could see less than 1/10 of an inch, while others see 1/4 inch, while the maximum could be about 1 to 2 inches of rain. And I still think that's going to be a possibility. Storms are just not moving as slow, and we don't have the flood setup that we had yesterday. But if we can clear out those skies, did you know it's actually a full moon tonight? It officially turns full at 4:47. The moon rises at 9:02, so that means if you're up a little bit later on in the evening, it's going to be a gorgeous full moon. And I think that we are going to clear out some of the clouds. Those clouds are still going to linger, but you'll definitely see the brightness of the moon tonight. It should be spectacular. Temperatures drop down to the lower 70s by tomorrow, and then after that, we have the lower 90s Friday through the weekend. Each and every day has a chance for storms, just some more than others. I actually think our least likely and least coverage of storms is Saturday and Sunday over the next 7. It's Friday. Whenever you see a 40%, that means scattered. That means about 40% of the map is covered up. Today is a little bit more than that. You're going to have that chance again on Friday. I just think that the severe potential is far more isolated compared to what we have today. Same with the flooding. And I think we're going to see an uptick in the moisture again in our storm chance heading into the middle of next week. Hottest day, Monday, 95 degrees, then back to normal at 90 to 91, heading to the exact middle point of July 16th on Wednesday. Let's head over to Destiny, who's had an up and down traffic morning. The news update here on WCNC Plus starts now.
Yeah, right now we're tracking this crash on I-77 northbound near Gold Hill Road. That's just north of Fort Mill. This is mile marker 88. Clicking around, though, to mile marker 87, for example, you can see some of this backup here, mile marker 86. So it's definitely heavy congestion in the area. And we know that the shoulder is closed at this time. So just a heads up if you are coming into the Charlotte area from South Carolina. So if we go into the map, you can see where our problem spot is here south of the Charlotte area near Fort Mill again. So a problem for people heading into town, heading into work, whatever you may be doing. I-85 northbound, of course, has been a headache at this time of the morning. But right now we're not seeing any impacts from an actual crash there. I do want to mention that after we zoom in here and see this backup, I-77 northbound, again, the shoulder is blocked. But I do want to say that we do have information about this crash that was causing issues in Kannapolis. It is clear it was debris on the road. This was near Dale Earnhardt Boulevard.
Destiny, thanks. Getting an update on that South Charlotte fire. Let's listen in.
Operations. In total, 6 people were treated and transported by a medic to local hospitals. The cause of the fire at this time is currently under investigation. I'll be glad to provide more information as it becomes available. Thank you so much.
And will you say and spell your first and last name for us?
Justin, Justin, Phillips, Phillips, Battalion Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, you've been listening to Battalion Chief there with Charlotte Fire, updating the media on a story that we've been watching unfold over the course of the last 90 minutes here on WCNC and WCNC Plus, confirming what we know, that 6 people are now in the hospital with their injuries. But saying the cause of the fire right now is currently under investigation. This all happening in an apartment complex down near South Boulevard and Sharon Road West, if you're familiar with that area. All starting around 6 a.m. this morning. Richard Devane's going to be arriving there on scene momentarily, getting a better idea. But again, 6 people now in the hospital because of this fire. And per that battalion chief just moments ago, still not a good idea about what started the fire. We'll keep you posted throughout the morning right here on WCNC Plus. All right, now to some other breaking news we're following out of Surrey County this morning, where authorities have issued an Amber Alert for the teen you see right here. She's from Mount Airy. 13-year-old Valeria Hernandez has been missing since June 25th, so quite some time now. She was last seen getting off a bus in Raleigh, described as 4'11", 180 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. Last seen wearing a black shirt and pants with white sneakers. If you have any information about where she may be, please call police.
In South Carolina, Chesterfield County deputies are asking for help to find a missing mom and her 2 young children. Investigators say Peyton Manis hasn't been seen or in contact with social services since last Thursday. She's believed to be with her 2 kids traveling in a 1998 silver Honda Accord. If you do have any information, call the Chesterfield County Sheriff's Office. A man is recovering this morning after he was struck by lightning yesterday in Iredell County. It happened on Branton Road up near Statesville. According to authorities, the 40-year-old was conscious and alert after the strike. Also in Iredell County, new video shows a wild incident with fireworks. Take a look at this. Deputies responded to a call on Buffalo Shoals Road last Saturday where multiple people were seen shooting fireworks at a home. 2 people are now facing multiple charges this morning, including damage to property with fireworks and giving alcohol to someone underage.
This morning, we are learning more about the deadly flooding in the small town of Ruidoso, New Mexico. The storm now being blamed for at least 3 deaths, including 2 kids. As NBC's Steve Patterson tells us, the aftermath is intense as this small town works to find the missing this morning.
Residents in scenic southern New Mexico reckoning with the fury of raging floodwaters, taking stock of anything left. In Ruidoso, the flood so terrible it cleaved through whole neighborhoods, so powerful it ripped homes away from their owners.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
This store's sped-up surveillance video shows just how high the water rose. Overnight, exhausted rescue workers made the discovery they were hoping to avoid. 3 dead, including 2 young children, a 7-year-old boy and a 4-year-old girl.
The little boy was found under the utility trailer by the bridge on Meander, and the little girl was about 50 feet away from him.
Officials from Fort Bliss, Texas, confirming the children belong to a soldier and their spouse, both in the hospital with serious injuries.
You have multiple vehicles and mobile homes starting to float away here at Gatlin.
Rescuers working around the clock, scouring for the stranded. In all, officials say 65 swiftwater rescues made just yesterday.
We had people in trees, we had people in the water. People trapped in houses with water coming into them.
The village's river, the Rio Ruidoso, rising 18 feet in just 30 minutes.
The mud is just everywhere.
Lifelong Ruidoso resident Eric Orozco says he and his family's decades-old home is just too far gone.
And just see so much work that you put into, and not just for us, bro, it's just for everyone in this community right here that's going through this flood damage, and it just really hurts.
Officials say part of the problem, burn scars from a series of wildfires that cut into the hillsides almost exactly a year ago. Now, the town's mayor says they're runways for disaster.
How direct is the devastation we're seeing today to the fact that there was a saturation on that scar running off into town?
It's 100% related to that. There's nothing to absorb it, to slow it down, so the water picks up whatever debris and pushes it.
A cycle of climate disaster, punishing residents just for calling these hillsides home.
Well, this morning, communities in Texas are also recovering from deadly flash flooding.
The total death is now up to 120, with more than 170 people still missing this morning. Communities are trying to come together and show each other support. Memorials are growing for the victims as thousands of donations pour in.
That money going to support recovery for things like this. Houses destroyed, belongings washed away, and cleanup efforts just now getting started. Texas Governor Greg Abbott issued a proclamation yesterday aimed at improving early warning systems for flooding and providing relief funding.
Support is also coming from all across the nation, including right here in the Carolinas, as reporter Brianna Hollis shows us. No matter how big or small, every day, someone is helping to make a difference.
What kind of colors do you have?
I have red, yellow, green, pink, orange.
So your name is Luna?
Yes.
How old are you, Luna?
9.
You're 9? Mm-hmm. Tell me about what you're doing today.
I'm going to make bracelets.
Tucked away in a fort, its walls made of piles of donations that have come into Grape Juice, her parents' restaurant, Luna set up shop to make bracelets for first responders and volunteers. Even at just 9 years old, she understands that her community needs support, and she wants to help.
I saw people on TikTok and all this, and I wanted to be a part of it, so I did it.
you want us to help support?
The situation is getting more dire and dire.
Luna's dad and grape juice owner Derek Easton is spearheading this makeshift supply headquarters. He says it started off with making sandwiches, then evolved into cooking hot meals, and is now transformed into this mecca of anything anyone in Kerr County could need right now.
First responder bags right behind you. That is energy drinks. We kind of sucker them in with a monster. We have things like cookware sets and kitchen utensil sets, and these have been really handy because you can give these to communities affected, right? And they can be self-sustaining. They have food autonomy. There's different types of folks, organizations, and needs. That's really what we're kind of trying to do our best.
The business's GoFundMe has raised almost $150,000, and as the donations keep coming in,
It doesn't matter if you have big gaps or spaces inside.
Luna is hard at work doing her part.
What do you want to say to the people that need help? Want to share a nice message for them?
Thank you.
Well, we know a lot of you would really like to help out the folks in Texas, so we've got a couple of ways you can do just that. Our parent company, Tegna, collecting donations for those impacted. Just take out your phone, scan the QR code there on your screen. That's going to take you to information you need. There's also going to be a phone bank later today. Tune in tonight at 5 and 6 for more information on how you can help.
Also, our news partners in Dallas are working with Dallas-based t-shirt company Bolzerk to create this special edition t-shirt. You can scan the QR code on your screen now to order and visit bolzerk.com. 100% of the proceeds will be donated to our Tegna Texas Flood Relief Fund.
And as we've mentioned, so many nonprofits from right here in the Carolinas lending a hand as well. You can find a full list of those on our website and inside the WCNC Charlotte mobile app. All right, 7:16, turning back to your forecast. Watching again for storms this afternoon.
Yet again, more heavy rain is going to be a possibility, but real quick, since we have some time, Megan actually inspired me with something. So we were just talking about the pure power of water, where she said, man, the power of water is just amazing. You said something better than that sentence, but just talking about how powerful it was. But I want to bring up a unique stat here. So I put this together a few years ago, but 1 inch of rain, say if it covers an acre of land, that's 125,000 gallons plus. Now, let's just say if you have 1 inch of rain across the city of Charlotte. So city of Charlotte, going by acreage, is 198,000 plus acres. So if 1 inch of water covers Charlotte, that's the equivalency of 24.9 billion gallons of water. Now, just put that in perspective. Now, if you're talking about some of these bigger storms that are dumping 10 to 11 inches of rain, as we saw over in Texas, how you're talking about the trillions of gallons that are associated with this. So just kind of letting you know that even an inch of rain still is pretty powerful. And some flood impacts that you potentially could have is 6 inches of moving water can knock a person down. 1 foot of water can actually float a car slightly, but 2 feet of water can actually float and carry away an SUV and or a smaller bus. Just an absolute staggering stats as far as how powerful water can be. Now, oftentimes if you have heavy rain, it's still not a good situation. Things are flowing, but the worst flooding is whenever you have a stream or a creek that overflows, especially some of the forks that happen, because those almost turn into lakes and can be quickly moving and eventually just widen the river. And that's what actually happened with the Hidden Eye Campground situation back in 2020. And it was also kind of a outside problem that happened with around the Texas area, because that's actually the South Fork of the Guadalupe River that was right along the campground there. But moving on for our forecast, we have 1 to 3 inches of rain that fell yesterday, while others saw less than 1/10 of an inch. Some of our more populated areas, Gastonia, Charlotte, and Concord, probably thought that I was crazy. Oh yeah, Chris really missed it. Well, all the rain was down to the south or to the north, so a lot of us avoided this, where there was flash flood warnings in Lancaster County, in Lincoln County, and there was a lot in northern Iredell and then pushing over to Greensboro where most of that rain fell. Well, it's this area right here that we saw the zones up to about 3 inches. And if we see more thunderstorms dumping the same rates, we could have more flash flood warnings first here, and that's as early as the early to mid-afternoon. Now, I think most of the rain, the heaviest rain, is going to be down towards the south, but we'll get to that because I want to talk about the air. We are super saturated today. It's something that's called PWAS, it's precipitable water, and that's really just if you compress the atmosphere, how many inches of rain you could potentially get for it. It maxes maxes out around 3+, and then you can have that build on itself. But we have one of the highest P watts, or the level of moisture in the atmosphere that we've had so far this year. That's why we're under this flood threat. And then that muggy air is still going to last, that we're actually heading into the tropical season, heading deeper at least. We've already seen 3 named storms ahead of schedule, but this area of red is the tropical moisture, and kind of the wave that we felt yesterday, that's trying to make a comeback through the weekend, but we really don't see this red arrive until the late part of next week heading into the weekend. We actually have a drier forecast by the back end of next week, so things are heading in the right direction, because our peak dew point so far this year is 76 back on June 25th. That's the day that we hit 110 degrees for a heat index, one of the highest all time in Charlotte history, at least dating back to 1940 when the records for that started to be kept. And we are expecting this to be a little bit lower today, but it's still going to be humid. Also, we are anticipating some sunshine, as we're seeing here around Dallas, but it's taking its sweet time trying to get out of here. Our dew points, as I mentioned, though, in the lower 70s, that's still going to create a real feel much hotter than the actual air temperature. We're checking it out over the coming days. We are anticipating a 97 to a 99 peak heat index, but it could feel like 100 degrees for at least an hour on Saturday, and could be multiple hours by the back end of the forecast heading into Monday, which is the hottest day that we have going forward. Okay, now let's talk about our storm chances. Our storm chances, I think, are really opening up after 2, but you will see some signs of storms up in the mountains as early as 11 o'clock. We saw that yesterday, even up to noon. Once you get to about noon to 2, we're seeing them primarily from Hickory to Taylorsville. These can glom together. This is that zone that I showed you where we have some of the heavier rain, so that's the first flood watch that we're really keeping an eye on. Once you get to about 4 o'clock, I think they're actively around the Charlotte area. They were taking their sweet time. They got hung up off towards the north yesterday. Today, I do think they worked their way around the Charlotte area. It's also more of an active afternoon compared to what we had yesterday, but I think the evening is most active for these storms in general. Notice how much more organized they are. You have almost a perfect line that's just south of Charlotte. So I think south of I-85, really after 4 o'clock, that's where storms start to hit their maximum. They really start to strengthen, they cluster together, better chance for those heavier flooding rains, and then also a better chance for severe thunderstorm in general. If it does this right around Charlotte, 8 o'clock, check this out, that's a bow echo. That would be a strong line of winds up to 60+ miles per hour, and likely that would be flying at 50 miles per hour, which would limit the rainfall overall. And then after this, we don't really have nearly as convoluted of a map, still isolated showers and thunderstorms, but looks like it's going to be less impactful. Still a chance for an isolated thunderstorm where it could reach strong to severe status. Low chances today, still a low chance for severe storms tomorrow, but then by the weekend, just business as usual. Summertime pop-up storm. Still could get gusty and could dump up to an inch of rain. Our forecast, speaking of today, it's all over the place. Some areas will see up to an inch plus, while other areas will see less than a quarter inch. So it just depends where those heavier bands are going to set up. But as of right now, we are calling for some of the heaviest rain to be down towards the southeast and some isolated pockets of 1 to 2 across the area. We'll also add on to that tomorrow. Same scenario goes, but just not weather alert. As I already showed you, the peak heat indices starting to warm up to about 100+, and then reaching for that 7-day forecast. It will pop up for me. There we go. 92 on Friday, 93s through the weekend. Still feeling close to 100, as I just showed you. 95 on Monday, and then our average for the middle of July is actually 91. We're back to that on Tuesday with more of a scattered potential for rain heading in the middle of next week. Let's head over to Destiny. How's it looking?
Right now, we're still seeing heavy congestion just north of Fort Mill on I-77 northbound. So if you're headed into the Charlotte area, this is the mess you'll be dealing with. Stop and go traffic, it seems like most of the time, as you're passing by this accident that is in the shoulder, according to reports. So that is the red and orange that we're seeing right there, and that's really our big problem spot. So if we zoom in here, you can see that as you approach going north here, you'll have that crash at exit 88, which is Gold Hill Road. Now, there are a couple of detours you can take. One of them is pretty congested. That's the US 21 bypass here in Fort Mill. You can also take SC 160 for a long way around up to Lake Wiley into the Charlotte area. That's if you want to avoid that headache this morning. We also have a crash in West Charlotte. That is a crash at Sam Wilson Road and Wilkinson Boulevard. You can see the backup there. And then we also have a crash not causing too bad of an impact. That's WT Harris Boulevard near the plaza. Drive safely.
All right, thanks, Destiny. Charlotte Animal Care and Control was at max capacity after the holiday weekend after many dogs ran away from fireworks. This morning, the organization says it still has plenty of dogs marked as strays. Take a look. If you recognize any of these dogs, they are at the shelter right now. Officials are once again reminding people how important it is to microchip your pets in case they ever get lost.
So sad.
It is sad. All right, before we go to break, today is also a big day for one very famous animal.
Aww.
Happy birthday to Mebane. Oh my goodness. The adorable hippo who took the internet by storm last year turns one today, I should say. She drew hundreds of thousands of fans to Thailand Zoo, racked up 2.6 million followers on TikTok, and even starred in a Sephora blush promotion.
Oh, okay.
I never understood the obsession.
Yeah, she's a big, healthy girl.
That's the obsession?
I guess so.
No, well,
I think it's just cute to see a tiny hippo.
All right, got to go to break. Live pictures over uptown. We're back with another news update in just a couple minutes.
The time now is 7:26. I'm Megan Bragg.
And I'm Ben Thompson. We are staying on top of breaking news in South Charlotte. Live pictures right now of the scene of an apartment fire. This is right off South Boulevard and Sharon Road West. Just a few moments ago, a battalion chief updated us live on WCNC Plus. He says they are still not sure how this fire started. You can see some of the families still affected by that. Get this, we know at least 6 people taken to the hospital, including 3 with life-threatening injuries, 1 with serious injuries. We'll have continuing breaking news coverage over on WCNC Plus.
And we have another weather alert day, especially from 2 to 9. Flooding, gusty winds, and lightning all going to be a possibility, especially late afternoon heading into the evening. Our 7-day forecast, not weather alert after today. Lower 90s through the weekend with daily storm chances. Set over Destiny. What's going on?
Yeah, we're dealing with a huge traffic headache on I-77 near Fort Mill. So this is a live look. It's been like this for more than an hour now. It has been a big problem for folks heading from South Carolina up into the Charlotte area. So if you're heading northbound I-77, be prepared for this. This has the shoulder blocked at this time. So I-77 northbound at exit 88. Try to take a detour if you can to try to avoid that. We'll have the latest on our breaking news, weather, and this traffic update coming up on WCNC Plus.
We are streaming live right now at 8 a.m. right here on WCNC Plus, and we are staying on top of breaking news coverage out of South Charlotte. Live pictures right now from an apartment complex over on Winter Oaks Lane. This is near South Boulevard and Sharon Road West. Just about 15 minutes ago, a battalion chief updated us live right here on WCNC Plus. He says at this hour they are not sure how this fire started, but we can tell you it was serious. At least 6 people taken to the hospital. 3 of those with life-threatening injuries, 1 with serious injuries. Richard Mebane expected to arrive any moment now. As soon as he arrives, we'll bring you that update.
And in the near term, all is well, just a little bit on the cloudier side. It's maybe not the most motivational start as you're opening up the curtains or the blinds, whatever you got there. And then if you look a little bit further east, though, we do see some blue sky, even on our Dallas cam up above. It's about 1,450 feet up in the air. You do see the sunshine up above. Just got to get rid of these lower level clouds. It's going to rain again, but some of us didn't really see that much rain yesterday. We have a medium threat for some flash flooding and some excessive rain, so heavy rain possible, especially between 2 and 9. Flooding, gusty winds, lightning, all a possibility today. That's why we're weather alert, because of those storms. Heat, actually the least of our worries. It's not going to feel as hot as yesterday. Yesterday felt like 101 to 100 degrees for about 3 to 4 hours. I was mowing the lawn. It wasn't pleasant. And your damaging wind threat, gusts up to about 60 miles per hour, is the number 1. Tornadoes, don't worry about it. And hail, not a risk today. We have a little bit of rain right now. This is just east of Charlotte, so barely raining, but still there's a little bit of a green center here, and that is representing that you could see a medium downpour, so some moderate rain as it's technically called. Taking a closer look where these are going to impact, you can see what they've been doing over the last hour, just slowly pushing their way off towards the east. So next in line, Wadesboro, you're going to be seeing a little bit more rain. Southern parts of Anson County, just some of those back roads as well. And then Lylesville eventually is going to see a little bit of rain. So we'll show you what that camera looks like most likely during my next weather hit, as that's going to be a little bit closer, or at least the top of the 8 o'clock hour that should be moving in. As far as our Doppler radar is concerned, not really seeing too much for the time being. I do see a little bit of fog still lingering around 321. That's been another outside issue. Still a mile and a half, not too bad. Down below a quarter mile in some spots just west of Statesville, so it just depends where you are. Some of that rain that we saw yesterday is now starting to take hold. All right, let's talk about our rain chances and that window of opportunity. As I mentioned, it's about 2 to 9, and that seems like a long window. You might be waiting a lot longer in Charlotte. Say, wow, that anytime between 2 and 9. Well, here's the deal. We are tracking from the mountains to the southeast, so that's why we have such a big window. If I were narrowing it down per place to place, well, let's do that. If you're watching from the mountains, your window is actually before that. You've already almost opened up your window. By 11 o'clock, that's the earliest I think you see your first storm. By about 11 to 2, you're seeing those storms almost pass through the area. Still a chance for a secondary batch, but at this point, things are starting to scatter, where one storm can turn to 2 to 4, where outflows start to pop up, new storms interacting with the daytime heat and humidity. Once you get to about 5 o'clock, I think that's really the sweet spot right around Charlotte. I have a window of about 4 to 7 across the greater Charlotte area, either side of I-77. But if I were to separate the area that I think sees storms last and the strongest, it's going to be south of I-85, really after 4 o'clock. At that point, we're seeing isolated to scattered thunderstorms starting to organize into clusters of storms. So this is called a multi-cluster storm system, not to be too meteorological for you. That just means that storms are gathering together in numbers. And what happens when you gather strength in numbers? You become stronger. Same thing goes for humankind, but then also for storms. And when these gather together, sometimes they can start to pick up the strength. They move faster. The winds pick up, and that allows them to gust up to 60 miles per hour. That sometimes, if you form a little bow echo or just a little curve to it, that can allow those winds to race, and then also the storm system to race. And that's why I think these are clearing a little bit earlier than what we saw yesterday. Yesterday we had some thunder and lightning as late as midnight. I think most of the activity is clear by 9 to 10 o'clock, maybe a straggler behind that, but not lasting nearly as long as yesterday. How much rain is going to fall today? I think you see up to an inch for some locations. In general, it's a quarter to a half inch for those that get rain rain for a thunderstorm, but some areas are going to see less than 1/10 of an inch, just as Charlotte and Gastonia did yesterday, even while others saw 1 to 3. Also, it's a full moon tonight, so the moon officially is set for the day, but it will rise again at 9:02 if you're up that late. It should be a gorgeous full moon. I think you'll have enough breaks in the clouds to see it. If not, you'll be able to see that moonlight. It's a beautiful one. Our 7-day forecast shows the temperatures are up from here. Your real feel is up from here as well. We'll feel close to 100 degrees for the max for the real feel and the heat index on Saturday and Sunday, each day at 93, 95 on Monday. That day, I think, feels the hottest as well. Super humid air will also lead to more scattered thunderstorms each afternoon, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So we're keeping that active pattern around. Actually, the least likely chance for storms this weekend, Destiny, is Saturday, Sunday. So that's good news.
That is good news. Something that is also good news is that it's a very short portion of I-77 northbound that is seeing an impact of this crash. Once you get past mile marker 88, that is Gold Hill Road, you'll actually see better traffic. So for those that are headed towards Carowinds, you should be good. And I'll show what we're getting that from. So right now we're seeing I-77 northbound at mile marker 87. So that is south, a little bit closer to Fort Mill, right before exit 88, which is where that crash is at. So you can see people approaching that slowdown. And if we look at all the York County maps, you can see this is where the crash is. So mile marker 88, that is Gold Hill Road. And then if you look to mile marker 90, which is closer to the Charlotte area, traffic is moving nicely. So it's really just getting to the other side of that. And you can see the backup down here this morning. Some other areas where we're seeing backups, kind of a usual slowdown right here on I-77 northbound in the South Charlotte area. Also seeing backup on I-85 northbound near Gastonia. Thankfully, no crashes from that. So right now we're really just trying to follow this crash and when it might clear up. Right now we're seeing that the shoulder is blocked at exit 88. Also seeing that this might be the best detour route for you, taking SC 160 to Lake Wiley or US 21 bypass, but there is a bit of congestion as you head northbound in that direction. We're also seeing a crash on Sam Wilson Road at Wilkinson Boulevard. This was orange before, but it's turned green, so that might be improving this morning. So just make sure that you give yourself plenty of time, no matter where you're coming from, into the Charlotte area.
The city of Mebane says it has less than 2 days of drinking water left after flooding from Chantal and power outages damaged the city's water treatment plant.
Now, for some context, Mebane's about 30 minutes east of Greensboro. WCNC Charlotte's Giselle Thomas joins us now live this morning. And Giselle, the situation there seems pretty dire. Officials even asking some businesses to close because of this crisis.
Yes, now that's actually one of the reasons why it is around nearly 8 a.m. in the morning, and you can see it's very dead here downtown. If you are non-essential, you are not allowed to be open in the city of Mebane. Now, this is also impacting families. I was able to speak to a mother of 7. Her name was Sarah Bell. She tells me that last night, because the city is in a zero water use program that they're having, she had to put out buckets of water to collect rain to use that to, she's thinking of using it to wash her dishes, but then also to use it to flush her toilet. So that helps put it into perspective of what some of these residents are dealing with right now. Now, Belle tells me that it's just been really hard not being able to use water during the summertime. She says that between the zero water use and also closed roads, it's hard to not only get around the city of Mebane, but also just keep up with her home. So right now the city is in a level 5 water shortage plan that forces non-essential businesses to close, and it limits water use for residents to only bottled water only. Now, to cut back on water, Belle says that she's made the switch to paper products to see if that helps cut down on her dishes.
Having that many kids, they just go through dishes all day long. They're going through laundry all day long. So those things are piling up on us. We traveled yesterday to Chapel Hill to take showers. Everybody took showers at my mom's.
Now, with those showers, Belle says that she wants to savor them as long as she can. She says at this time she's limiting play for her kids outside, but with the current weather forecast, she says that it's kind of a waiting game on if she stays here in Mebane for the rest of the week.
The flood warning coming is very concerning of how we should be moving forward, if we should go ahead and leave the area just to be safe, or if we should stay and wait, or it's very up in the air.
Now, also just to add some perspective for families out there, Belle says that she had her kids enrolled in summer camp. Today would make day 2 that they're missing that camp. So she's wondering too, what happens to the money she paid, because she said she paid for it for the rest of the week. Now, when it comes to the water plant for Graham and Mebane, right now city officials are saying that it's currently being worked on, but there's no estimate of when things will be up and running since we're in this water shortage right now.
My goodness, water is something you just take for granted.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
It's essential. I mean, this is happening just up 85, our neighbors up there in Mebane. Giselle, you've been around there in Alamance County after Chantal. Give us a sense of how the community there is trying to help each other out as much as they can.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I've seen so many things. It's really just everyone coming together, neighbors upon neighbors. So in the past few days, whether it's bringing cases of water to each other, physically helping using wet vacs to vacuum out mud and dirt and debris out of their homes, the community is really coming together at this time, similar to what we saw in Western North Carolina, but this is a bit of a smaller scale. But seeing neighbors from different counties, also just an actual neighbor, brother and sister. It's been beautiful to see that. Especially, I had a guy who had his entire deck completely washed away, and it was just beautiful to see his family come in. You could see dirt inside of his car. Some of the images that we've seen over this week will stick with us for a very long time.
Yeah, and in the days to come, because still folks there in Mebane with very limited access, at least, to water right now, a dire situation. All right, Giselle, keep us posted. We appreciate that. 7:41 right now here on WCNC Plus, and Governor Josh Stein just signing off on a new round of bills that could impact your family, your safety, and even your next trip to the pharmacy. 2 bills are going to toughen penalties for crimes like burglary and package theft. A third bill is going to help military families settle into North Carolina more easily. That final bill updates rules for pharmacies, making it easier for independent businesses to operate in rural areas and lowering the cost for customers. The governor also vetoing a controversial bill that would have allowed teachers, parents, and school volunteers to carry guns during school hours at private schools. Not a lot of pictures right now over the White House this morning. Global markets now reacting to President Trump's latest round of tariff threats. NBC's Alice Barr now with more on the letters he sent out overnight, urging deals by August 1st.
This afternoon or tomorrow morning.
President Trump reigniting trade tensions with a new series of letters to trading partners imposing tariffs from 20% on imports from the Philippines up to 50% on Brazil.
Brazil, as an example, has been not good to us, not good at all.
The president acknowledging politics played a role in the hefty Brazil tariff, pointing to the prosecution of his ally, former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, for attempting to hold on to power after losing Brazil's 2022 election, calling the trial a witch hunt that should end immediately. President Trump has drawn parallels to his own criminal charges after losing the 2020 election that were dropped when he won in November. Brazil's current president saying the country will not accept being abused and will respond to the tariffs. As President Trump also said the U.S. has a trade deficit with Brazil, when the U.S. Trade Representative says it was actually a surplus for the U.S. last year. The president asked how his administration arrived at the new tariff rates.
The formula was a formula based on common sense, based on deficits, based on how we've been treated over the years.
The Senate's top Democrat slamming President Trump for not delivering on his promised 90 trade deals in 90 days.
He kicks the can down the road again and again. He talks a big game but shows little follow-through or strategic understanding.
As the president asserts setting tariffs by letter is a more efficient means to a deal. The new tariff rates are set to take effect August 1st, along with a separate 50% tariff on copper, which President Trump said is the second most used material by the Defense Department, vowing that America will build a dominant copper industry. Until that happens, however, Americans could see prices jump for products like appliances and electric vehicles. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Within a matter of hours last weekend, Tropical Depression Chantal dropped inches of rain across the triangle, causing major destruction.
And now, North Carolina climatologists say storms like this one could become a lot more common. Heidi Kirk explains what you can do now to prepare for the next tropical system.
It's a storm that rolled in over a holiday weekend, breaking dams, cresting rivers, and flooding roads, homes, and businesses. It's also the type of storm that climatologists say North Carolinians may need to watch out for.
I think what we've learned from Chantal is that no matter how strong a storm is, what its winds look like, even what it's classified as, we can see this threat of heavy rain anywhere in the state from any sort of tropical system.
Climatologist Corey Davis says tropical systems are changing. In North Carolina, we're seeing more with characteristics of severe thunderstorms, dropping excessive rain in unexpected places.
So what was so surprising with this storm is that not only did it end up bringing big rainfall totals, but those totals came very far inland, hundreds of miles away from the coast, where even in some of our big hurricanes, we haven't really seen amounts like that.
Now, in the past, you may not have paid too much attention to any of these tropical systems, but Davis said now you might want to, knowing the type of damage that they can cause. WRAL meteorologist Kat Campbell says we've already surpassed the number of damage reports in the Triangle from last year.
Last year, we had 568 reports of damage. This year, we're only just over halfway through the year and we've already surpassed that number. We've had 574 reports of damage.
That's a trend that's being seen in other places. Just this week, Texas and New Mexico also recovering from damage caused by flooding. Chantal is just the latest to make its mark on our state.
You were just saying.
So I went ahead and found some of the wettest days that we have had here in Charlotte since 1990. Okay. And I want to show you something, the correlation of tropical systems with some of our wettest days. Okay. As you notice, two of the wettest that we've had in recent history, Helene. Debbie rolled through it, rained all day. But the wettest day was actually from leftovers and the remnants of Danny. That was back in 1997. We had over 6 inches that day. Tropical Storm Faye at the time gave us over 5 inches of rain. And it was Tropical Storm Ada, and that was back in November 2020. That's also the influence that was the historic Hidden Night campground. That was one of the more tragic flooding events that we've had in our local area in Alexander County as a whole. But there's only one day, and that was July 17, 2004, that the biggest rainfall total, even the top 10 dating back to 1950, wasn't associated with some sort of tropical storm or tropical system.
Wow.
Yeah. And Claudette, of course, is going to have those higher totals in general for parts of central North Carolina. They're still under an active flood watch as well. But then the actual record that we have is from Florence, obviously, from the amount of rain and the flooding that we saw there. So it's the tropical systems you all have to watch out for, but it's not about the winds. It's all about usually the inland movement that they make, where it's even a tropical depression or remnants of a system that can still give us the tornadoes, still give us that heavy rain threat. And we're just seeing more and more of it, especially with those higher moisture values.
Wow.
There you go.
All right.
Great.
Now you know.
Chris, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris. Meantime, as the nation rallies together to support victims in Texas, scammers are also looking to take advantage. Officials are warning people to be alert for organizations that may not be legit. Here are some tips to keep your money and information safe. Donate to charities with a strong track record and a verifiable source. Never make a donation if you feel pressured to do so by the organization. And of course, never share personal information like your social security number. And we are making it easy to donate to victims in Texas. You can scan the QR code right now to make a difference. That money will go directly to recovery efforts across Central Texas. We do have that on our WCNC Charlotte app, so you can find that there. And you can find verified organizations also on our mobile app.
Well, here in Charlotte, folks doing whatever they can to help out the relief efforts, and that includes one local jewelry store owner that's raising tens of thousands of dollars for storm victims.
WCNC Charlotte's Miles Harris shows us how her simple fundraising idea exploded into something beyond her wildest dreams.
Collection here, we have something small that we could do, and it totally took on a life of its own.
Erin McDermott got creative with her jewelry studio and decided to do a special donation. $25 necklaces with a promise that 100% of the proceeds would go directly to Texas flooding victims.
So our hope was that everyone could find something online that they could gift to their daughter, themselves, a friend, their wife, a coworker, a neighbor, and know that when they wear this piece, they're doing good and they're helping.
Customers answered Erin's call to action from all over the world. In just a couple of days, she raised $100,000 to help those in Texas impacted by the flooding.
Because she goes into action, she really gives people like me an opportunity to, support these families and to show love in this world when I really don't know what to do, right?
McDermott stresses that every necklace is a step towards relief for those in need.
Knowing that you are part of raising this money and helping a community, and truly, we couldn't have done it without each individual person.
McDermott has paused orders now to make sure that she can fill those already purchased. But if you would like to see other ways you can help Texas flooding victims, head to our mobile app. In Northeast Charlotte, I'm Miles Harris, WCNC Charlotte.
Thanks a lot, Miles. You always do a great job. Our flood watch, we have until further notice for multiple counties, including the Raleigh area over to Greensboro. This is from all the rain that we've seen over the last week or so from Chantal and also the rain yesterday. Saw some totals that were over 4 inches of rain. So yeah, a lot of people saw a good amount of rain, especially over in this area. High Point at one point was under multiple flash flood warnings. And Raleigh, since it covers such a big area, gives some of the biggest polygons, those outlines of those warnings that you usually see across the United States. New Mexico also has huge ones as well because they have huge counties. But we had at one point a huge one that was pretty much from the Virginia, North Carolina state line down to Rowan County that went on for a couple of hours because of the estimated 2 to 4 inches of rain that had quickly fallen. So it's only 3 of our counties that are currently under this. We have Stanley, Anson, and Richmond County. Counties that still saw a good amount of rain, that's Burke, Alexander, Catawba, and Iredell County. You're not under a watch yet because you didn't see multiple days of this. If you had seen it the last couple of days with these type of totals, I think for sure you would be there. Luckily for Albemarle, Wadesboro, and Rockingham, part of those warned areas, you didn't have nearly as much rain as, say, up in Greensboro, so the creeks and streams a little bit more problematic there, even though things have come down to a near normal level, just still around action stage for a lot of them. Satellite and radar showing a little bit of light rain. It's almost out of here, and then we're going to take a nice little break. Taking a look at the big picture, we have some active showers and storms right here around Charleston. That little piece of rain as I just showed you. Now we're just waiting for another round of storms to develop. All of us under a low risk for severe storms. This is actually active for tomorrow, but since our flood threat is really dropping off because things are a little bit more isolated in nature, we are not weather alert for tomorrow, just for today. And here's that timing. You're seeing developing storms right around noon to about 2 for the foothills. I think the Charlotte area, the earliest you're going to have a storm is 3 o'clock. 3 to 7, I think that's the general gist of the time that we have. And if I were to pinpoint the strongest storms, not saying you won't see a severe thunderstorm warning before this, my window is 2 to 9 for the most lightning, the heaviest rain, and also the gustiest winds. But notice what happens. These isolated storms, once they start joining together, and that's exactly what we see, this is where you have a better chance for more damaging straight line winds. So we might have numerous severe thunderstorm warnings to include the afternoon and start off the evening. It's through Monroe, Wadesboro, down to Cheraw. I think that window is really about 5 to 9 o'clock. And then I think the last of the strong storms are going to be out of here by about that 9 to 10 o'clock hour down to the southeast. Then we try again, more spotty to scattered showers and thunderstorms. Just don't think it's going to be as vast and as much energy as today, but there's still a chance for an outside severe thunderstorm warning, so just keep that in mind. But that's pretty much the pattern each and every summer day. We see it again on Saturday after 2 o'clock, but these are a lot more isolated. We're actually our least likely chances for rain over the next 7. Still a chance you get rain each of these 7 days, but on Saturday and Sunday you only have a 20% chance. So that's very isolated. Once you see the 40, that means it's a little bit more scattered, as you just saw on Friday's map. It's almost more of a likely today. It's also another reason why we're weather alert. The peak temperature 95 degrees on Monday, and then we're leveling out in the lower 90s. As for our lows, they don't move. Pretty much 71 to 73 is what you can expect pretty much for the next month, month and a half. Let's head over to Destiny, see what's going on for our morning commute. How's it looking, my friend?
Well, it is still pretty bad in terms of congestion, but we do know that crash on I-77 northbound in Fort Mill is now clear, but the congestion is still really bad. It was just a matter of time before it would impact the exit near Carowinds, that is mile marker 90 on I-77 northbound. So you can see that huge backup. We still have a backup here at the site of the crash, that is mile marker 88. So right now I'm just calling it clearing, but you can still see this huge backup of red, so slow and stop and go traffic in the area. So according to official reports, it is cleared, but I'm just saying it's clearing because right now it's not showing a whole bunch of red right here, but we're still seeing residual impacts from that. We do also have a crash here on Sam Whistlin Road at Wilkinson Boulevard, but not as much of an impact from that. Drive safe.
Dusty, thanks. More on that breaking news out of South Charlotte. 6 injured in an apartment fire. That's coming up next right here on WCNC Plus. Live now at 7:56. I'm Ben Thompson.
And I'm Megan Bragg. We are on top of breaking news in South Charlotte. This is a live look at an apartment fire on. Actually, we're not having a live look right now, but we're going to tell you about this. Here it is. Here it is. Right off of South Boulevard and Sharon Road West. Just moments ago, a battalion chief updated us live on WCNC Plus. He says they're not sure how that fire started. At least 6 patients were taken to the hospital, including three with life-threatening injuries and 1 with serious injuries. We will continue to have breaking news coverage over on WCNC Plus.
And your 7-day looking good after today. General chance for thunderstorms. Today is a weather alert day, though, especially 2 to 9. Chance for strong thunderstorms with also some flash flooding. And there's also, of course, going to be that dangerous lightning threat. Each day has a storm chance, lower 90s through the weekend, 95 Monday, and then still keeping those active storm chances the middle of next week. Destiny, what's going on?
Yeah, so this morning we're still seeing a lot of congestion from a crash on I-77 northbound. This is on I-77 northbound near Carowinds. This is not where the crash is at, but as you can see, there's just a big mess going on as you're coming from South Carolina into the Charlotte area. This is actually where the crash is at in this York County camera at mile marker 88, which is Gold Hill Road near Fort Mill. So this morning, just plan ahead no matter where you're coming from into the Charlotte area. We'll have the latest for you on WCNC Plus.
Streaming live right now at 8 a.m. right here on WCNC Plus. I'm Ben Thompson.
And I'm Megan Bragan for Lisa.
We're staying on top of breaking news that we've been telling you about all morning long here on WCNC Plus. Live pictures right now of the scene of an apartment fire on Winter Oaks Lane near South Boulevard, Sharon Road West. You can still see an active situation there. Police, medic, firefighters still there. About an hour ago, right here on WCNC Plus, we got an update from a battalion chief. He said they're still investigating what might have started this fire. At least 6 patients, though, taken to the hospital, including 3 with life-threatening injuries, 1 with serious injuries. Richard Mebane is actually there speaking to neighbors, trying to get a better clue of what may have happened, what may have sent 6 of their neighbors to the hospital. We'll continue to follow this all morning long, right here on WCNC Plus.
It's another weather alert day, and the reason why is because we have another chance for flooding and also a chance for severe storms. However, in our key that we keep here on WCNC, that we really simplified things. Yellow means a low, orange means a moderate, and then anything red means a high chance for severe flooding or all of the above. Now, for this, it's a moderate threat for flash flooding, especially for those areas that saw over an inch to even over 2 inches of rain yesterday, but it is a lower severe threat than yesterday. But I think some areas definitely have a better chance than others, and we'll get to that. But 2 to 9 is the window of opportunity I've opened up for your severe storms and or heaviest rain. And there's also a chance that it's going to get gusty even if it doesn't rain for you. This happened yesterday. A lot of outflows where you could feel almost like the thunderstorms coming. However, the Charlotte area, not much really came at all throughout the course of today. There's still a slight chance for a little bit of light rain this morning. We're seeing some showers trying to fire up, and we've seen some active light rain from place to place, also some fog. A lot of this translates over to some drizzle and some sprinkles here and there. Lincoln County's also had on and off fog, and then we have some low visibility still across the area. A lot of us dealing with some low clouds as well. Not the prettiest day as we're overlooking Monroe right now. 74 degrees right now in Charlotte, 71 for you in Statesville, and good morning, Boone. You're at 67. Only warm at 10 degrees from now for you in Boone and Watauga County. 89 though, this is a rarity, right? Some of us will hit 90 degrees across the greater Charlotte area still though. 86 over in Rockingham as we are anticipating some slightly cooler temperatures further off towards the south and east. And check out today's highs though. Even though we're getting to the upper 80s, we're still going to feel more like the mid to the upper 90s because of that moisture in the air. It's another humid day, just not as humid as yesterday. Let's rock the futurecasts by about 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. That's where storms are actively pushing in near the I-77 and I-85 corridor. Still might not see anything across the majority of Charlotte, but then after 4 to 6 is I think where we can narrow the smallest window of opportunity. Still could last as late as 7 o'clock across the 485 loop. And then from about 7 to 9, these guys are pushing their way down to the southeast. But I would say the early evening hours, which by the way, per the National Weather Service or in the weather world, our evening is actually a set time frame. It's 6 to midnight. That's what we call the evening. So it's really the early evening. So let's call it 6 to about 9 o'clock, the first half. That's where you're going to have the chance for actually the strongest thunderstorms south of Charlotte. But realistically, you could have a severe thunderstorm at any point during that 2 to 9 window. So again, today, late day heading in the evening especially is our best chance for gusty winds, flash flooding, but 2 to 9 is going to be our general window of opportunity going forward. As for that fog, a quick look at that. We're actually eroding a lot of that fog. It might be translating over some mist and some drizzle from place to place, but just stay weather alert through the afternoon. And we're actually going to keep our storm chances around not just for today, but also tomorrow as well. So today looks like this. Tomorrow's extended forecast is actually very similar, but I don't think you really have the ingredients to have as strong a thunderstorm. So here's what that looks like for you. Sorry about a little graphic hiccup over here. By tomorrow, here's 1 o'clock over to 3 o'clock, and then same thing, same timing, scattered variety of thunderstorms. But then for your Saturday, these are very isolated storms, so much better chance of staying dry for your Saturday. Same thing goes for your Sunday. Here is your 7-day forecast. What's going on for the long term? 92 to 95 is the temperature range going forward. Today is the quote coolest day, even though it still feels like the upper 90s, but tis the season, tis July. 85 or 95 85 is going to be our high temperature right around Monday. 91 is the seasonal average for middle of July, and that's where we're going to be on Tuesday. We also have a better chance for scattered thunderstorms Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday. It's actually this weekend that has the lowest chance for storms. You can still see it, but not as much as inconvenient, and certainly not like today, the only weather alert day that we have going forward, at least for now. Let's head over to Destiny, who's had an up and down traffic morning. Hopefully up, down, where are we at?
Well, we do know that that crash from this morning is clear. That is at I-77 northbound near Gold Hill Road. This is probably our closest view of that. This is mile marker 88.6, so that's near mile marker 88 where that Gold Hill Road exit is at. But as you can see, as people approach further north here, you can see that it's starting to slow down. At times, it was standstill going all the way back, but it is improving at times, but it's still not completely perfect. This is I-77 northbound near Carowinds. This is a completely different backup, but just traffic is ebbing and flowing as you're coming from South Carolina into the Charlotte area. So keep that in mind if you're traveling from Fort Mill, from Rock Hill. As you get closer to I-485 into Charlotte, you're just going to deal with a bit of a slowdown. Plan ahead, leave early. Right now, our only new crash on the map is here in Charlotte from around the Independence Boulevard area. A crash on Washburn Avenue at Monroe Road. So just be aware of that. We can see some congestion on Independence itself, but that is where the crash is at this morning. I'll keep you updated.
Thank you, Destiny. Now to that breaking news in South Charlotte, where at least 6 people were injured in an early morning apartment fire.
WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane just arrived on scene. He joins us now live with what he's learning from some neighbors and investigators. Richard.
Yeah, learning a couple things, actually. Ben, good morning to you. Good morning, Megan. Good morning to folks watching us on the Plus on this Thursday morning. A lot of folks who live in this section right behind me at this apartment complex right here off of South Boulevard were awakened to either the sound of something, a loud explosion. Others were awakened to firefighters actually banging on their door. Looking at this video given to us by a resident who was actually just a few doors away from where this all happened, right here at these apartments. As you heard, 6 people were treated and transported to the hospital. We can tell you that residents told us that most of them say they didn't see flames, they saw the smoke, the heavy smoke billowing out of that top 3rd floor apartment here off of South Boulevard. Basically, the neighbors said that they heard someone banging on the door. That's when they found out. This is a couple residents told me that it was actually firefighters. We spoke to the battalion chief, who says that they came here and within 4 minutes of getting that call this morning, and they saw heavy smoke billowing out of this apartment unit. There are over, I'd say, 7 to 8 apartment units in that particular building. The majority of the damage is to that first side, that front side as you're looking as we come back here live, that first portion, and on the top floor. Again, we can tell you 6 people were injured in this, transported to the hospital. Dozens others are still outside their apartments, some knowing that they won't be able to go back in anytime soon because of the fact that there is a lot of damage, a lot of smoke damage, a lot of water damage. I spoke to a person who lives on the other end of that unit that has been damaged. She says her door is open and she hopes that at some point she'll be able to go back in. But she again says she's lived there for about a year. She says she has no idea what she's going to see. She's just very hopeful. Most of the people we spoke with had no idea that people were actually injured in this. A lot of them saying they got out. They credit the fire department with their quick action getting them out. One person we spoke to who actually gave us the video told us that there was a sense of calm. She was calm because of the way that the firefighters were helping her evacuate. Her and her friends were all in an apartment here, and they were actually evacuated very calmly by the fire department, but telling them to get out. That is the story. We're going to have much more, and we'll let you hear from some of those folks in about 30 minutes. But for now, we're right here off of South Boulevard. This is Richard Devane, guys. I'll send it back to you.
Richard, are we learning anything more about these 6 people who are injured? Were they all part of the same family, all part of the same apartment? Any more context you can give us?
Yeah, I'm not hearing, as you mentioned earlier. I'll step out of the way of this fire truck trying to come around us. Not hearing if they were all in one apartment, in the one single apartment that was damaged the most. But you can see 2 apartment units on that top floor. That landing is actually has an apartment in the front and then one on the back. And and there are people right below, so we don't know, but we did hear, well, we don't know exactly what happened. We do know there's an arson investigator standard procedure as they try to figure out who is, what caused this fire to occur. At this time, we're working, I spoke to a couple neighbors if they knew the people who were involved in this. Most of the people said they don't know the folks who were involved, the neighbors, and when I asked did they see people getting taken away, the answer again from about 4 or 5 different people, they all said the same thing, that they saw the medic units, but they did not see people actually being taken away. So they were hopeful that no one was injured, and then we had to relay the news to them that some people were treated and transported by medic. Of course, we'll work on that. We'll find out some answers for you, and we'll be back. Give us about 30 minutes. We'll have something for you.
All right, Richard Devane reporting live for us there in South Charlotte. Richard, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
And as we head deeper into summer, you may have heard the term 100 deadliest days. It refers to the stretch between Memorial and Labor Day when traffic deaths typically spike.
But Charlotte's Vision Zero initiative is working to flip that script, aiming to make this the 100 safest days of summer instead. Joining us this morning to talk about more is Sierra Richardson. She's the Vision Zero outreach lead. All right, Sierra, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yes, thanks so much for having me this morning.
Yeah, we should say Vision Zero is the city's initiative to eliminate all traffic deaths by the year 2030, as well as serious injuries as well. And you know what? We hear about the 100 most dangerous days of summer. It's been an initiative for years now. But you're trying to change that narrative to the safest. What is the thought behind that?
Absolutely. So as we continue to implement Vision Zero here in Charlotte, we know that with the excitement of the summer months, taking vacations and just having that summer fun brings a serious risk as well. And it's also especially impacting our teens. Now, the good news is traffic crashes are preventable. So when we look at keeping one another safe and making safer choices, no matter if you're driving, walking, or biking, that's how we flip that script to make it the 100 safest days of summer for Charlotte.
So year to year, we do see these crashes, but what do the statistics look like over the summer months? Do we have that number or that data?
Absolutely. So over the past 5 summers between May and September, specifically looking at 2020 to 2024, we know that teens have been involved as a part of 38 fatal crashes. Now that's 23% overall during those summer months. And what this means is that they may have been a driver, they may have been a passenger or a victim in these crashes. And unfortunately, an average of 7 to 8 teens are involved in fatal crashes each month over the summer.
So what is, in general, I mean, you have, 17 people moving here to Charlotte every single day or something like that?
Yeah.
So you're getting all these people, all their cars, all the traffic. So how can you combat that and also make roads safer at the same time?
Absolutely. And people coming here for different events, concerts, games, that kind of thing. So we are taking specific actions that will align to make our streets safer for all modes across the city. And a couple of examples are lighting thoroughfares to provide better visibility at night. Also designing, building, and installing more pedestrian crossings. And then also evaluating speeds. So we're looking at areas to lower speed limits.
So how can residents get involved and how can they help?
So there's definitely a number of ways, but specifically over the summer, our biggest ask is to slow down. Speed impacts severity. So the faster that you're going, the higher the chances that you'll be involved in a fatal or serious injury crash. So we want to be mindful and adhere to those speed limit signs. We know folks don't want to be late to the meeting or don't want to be late picking up the kids, but we'd rather you arrive late and alive than not to arrive at all.
Yeah, words to live by. Let's go past summer for a second. What are some of the other projects that Vision Zero has in mind for the second half of the year?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are continuing to implement different types of infrastructure to support all modes of travel. And what I can tell you is that from July 2024 to June 2025, we've made some great progress and we want to keep it going. So we've implemented 20 new traffic signals, 5 new pedestrian hybrid beacons, 10 new rectangular rapid flashing beacons, and 22 leading pedestrian intervals, which supports our accessible pedestrian signals. So we want to keep that work going.
Yeah, definitely. You were talking about the pedestrian walkways. How many have been installed, were you saying?
Yes, so there are a couple of types, right? So when we think about traffic signals, those help at the specific intersections, but as far as midway crossings, 5 new pedestrian hybrid beacons and 10 new rectangular rapid flashing beacons.
Well, it is an ambitious goal, zero traffic-related deaths by 2030, but with the city growing as fast as we are, and the number of cars, and you gotta think about these things, and you gotta address these, because our growth is for naught if we live in an unsafe city.
Exactly.
You know, and people can't walk around. All right, Sierra, thank you so much for taking time. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for having me.
All right, 8:16 right now on WCNC Plus. More breaking news we're following out of Surrey County this morning, where authorities have issued an Amber Alert for the missing teen you see right here. She's from Mount Airy. This is 13-year-old Valeria Hernandez. Been missing from her home since June 25th, so going back about 2 weeks. We're just now hearing about this, though. Last seen getting off a bus in Raleigh, though, described about 4'11", 180 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. Last seen wearing a black shirt and pants with white sneakers. If you know where she might be, contact police. This morning, we are learning more about the deadly flooding in the small town of Ruidoso, New Mexico. The storm now being blamed for at least 3 deaths, including 2 kids. As NBC's Steve Batterson tells us, the aftermath is immense as that small town works to find the missing this morning.
Residents in scenic southern New Mexico reckoning with the fury of raging floodwaters, taking stock of anything left. In Ruidoso, the flood so terrible it cleaved through whole neighborhoods, so powerful it ripped homes away from their owners.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
This store's sped-up surveillance video shows just how high the water rose. Overnight, exhausted rescue workers made the discovery they were hoping to avoid. 3 dead, including 2 young children, a 7-year-old boy and a 4-year-old girl.
The little boy was found under the utility trailer by the bridge on Meander, and the little girl was about 50 feet away from him.
Officials from Fort Bliss, Texas, confirming the children belong to a soldier and their spouse, both in the hospital with serious injuries.
You have multiple vehicles and mobile homes starting to float away here at Gatlin.
Rescuers working around the clock, scouring for the stranded. In all, officials say 65 swiftwater rescues made just yesterday.
We had people in trees, we had people in the water, people trapped in houses with water coming into them.
The village's river, the Rio Ruidoso, rising 18 feet in just 30 minutes.
The mud is just everywhere.
Lifelong Ruidoso resident Eric Orozco says he and his family's decades-old home is just too far gone.
You just see so much work that you put into, and not just for us, bro, it's for everyone in this community right here that's going through this flood damage, and it just really hurts.
Officials say part of the problem, burn scars from a series of wildfires that cut into the hillsides almost exactly a year ago. Now, the town's mayor says they're runways for disaster.
How direct is the devastation we're seeing today to the fact that there was a saturation on that scar running off into town?
It's 100% related to that. There's nothing to absorb it, to slow it down, so the water picks up whatever debris and pushes it.
A cycle of climate disaster, punishing residents just for calling these hillsides home.
Steve Batterson reporting for us there. Well, this morning, communities in Texas are also recovering from deadly flash flooding there.
The death toll is now up to 120, with more than 170 people still missing this morning. Communities are trying to come together and show each other support. Memorials are growing for the victims as thousands of donations pour in.
That money going to support recovery for things like houses that are destroyed, belongings that were washed away, and the cleanup efforts just getting started. The Texas Governor Greg Abbott issuing a proclamation yesterday aimed at improving early warning systems for flooding and providing relief funding as well.
And we are making it easy to donate to victims in Texas. You can scan this QR code you see right on your screen to make a difference. That money will go directly to recovery efforts across Central Texas. You can also find a list of verified organizations right now inside the WCNC Charlotte mobile app.
8:19 right now. Chris, a weather impact alert issued for today.
Yeah, no, sure is. And luckily, it's going to be nothing like what we saw on the Guadalupe River. And actually, it's that area in Texas. A lot of meteorologists know it as Flash Flood Alley. Now, it's not an official term, but a lot of flash floods happen up and down there. But I want to give you a time frame. I put this together yesterday. The nearest site that's right near that campground that the absolute tragedy of a lifetime came from was near Hunt at the Guadalupe River, where actually the campground, Camp Mystic, was actually up along the South Fork of the Guadalupe River. And sometimes it's the forks and then the secondary rivers and the tributaries that can lead to some of the most flooding. But check this out. At 2:55, the river was at 9.4 feet. 30 minutes later, it was close to 15 feet. By the 3:55 to going on 4 o'clock, it was over 20 feet. And at 4:25, an hour and a half later, it was up to 26.9 feet. Now, there's verbiage that comes with these different reports here. Once you get up to that, it's major flooding. And they're saying that some of the secondary roads and highways and campgrounds are underwater at this point. And then it got as high as 37.5 feet by 5:10. Just the staggering how fast that water rose. And other parts of the Guadalupe River, and I shared this here on WCNC Plus, went from around 2 feet to over 30 feet in an hour and a half. So you do not see events like that very rarely, at least in a lifetime. That's over a 1,000-year flood on average. Our warnings yesterday was quite active across the Carolinas and up into Virginia. All the yellow ones representing severe thunderstorms, and all the green ones are flash flood warnings. So it really depends on where you live. Or yesterday, you might have said, there were no storms. What are you talking about? While others saw storms for hours that even led to some flash flood warnings. Here's the rainfall totals from yesterday. Goose egg. Barely anything really fell around the Charlotte area. We had 0.04 of an inch around Gastonia, over 2 inches in Lincoln. Sorry, it automatically shades depending on how high the rain is. That's tough to see. But there's actually some areas up here that saw over 3 inches of rain. There's actually some parts around Morganton and Burke County that saw the same. There's also a flash flood warning over in Lancaster as well. So it was a very active day yesterday, even though not everyone really saw this. And going forward, really for our extended forecast, I want to jump to this first. You're looking at high temperatures in the lower 90s, and today is actually going to be a cooler one compared to where we have been. We've been rocking some really hot temperatures in recent days, getting as high as 98 degrees, so one of the hottest that we've been so far. We hit 100 one day, and now officially 3 times we've been at that 98 degree threshold. And today we're again going weather alert for the chance for flooding. Nothing like what we were just describing. More flash flood warnings is going to be a possibility, and we have a flood watch until further notice. Now, it's Stanley, Richmond, and Anson County that are still highlighted compared to the rest of our area because they're the ones that saw the rain from Chantal. The rest of us didn't even really see a drop, especially west of I-77. And even though we saw a decent amount of rain from place to place, we would need to see that over multiple days in order to warrant a flood watch. So we're still a little bit too dry of a soil for it to really be a concern. Now, does that mean that you won't see an isolated severe thunderstorm? Well, no, absolutely not. After 2 o'clock, you'll have a chance for a severe thunderstorm that could drop 1 to 2 inches of rain. It could cause some localized flooding. I just think it's really the areas that saw the rain yesterday and that are under that flood watch that have a better chance to move on from not just the flash flood warning, but a considerable flash flood warning, and those are a lot more serious. By about 4 o'clock, we have scattered showers and thunderstorms across the Charlotte area. From about 4 to 5 to 6 o'clock, they're passing the 485 loop, and I think that we have the strongest storms around Rockingham and Chirac, really around the 8 to 9 o'clock hour, and then we're pushing them out, so it should be a quieter evening compared to what we had yesterday. And then we'll yet again have a chance for storms tomorrow, but we are no longer weather alert for tomorrow, and our severe chances really drop off along with our flooding potential as well. Let's head over to Destiny to see what's going on traffic-wise on this kind of May-like morning.
Yeah, right now we're seeing traffic moving, but also slowing down and becoming stop and go at times, all the way from Fort Mill up into the Charlotte area as you approach I-485. So this is I-77 on the northbound side near mile marker 88. Things improving, but just a couple of minutes ago, it was stop and go all the way back. So this is another picture of that area, I-77 northbound near Carowin, so a little bit closer to Charlotte, but as you can see, heavy congestion there. We do have an injury incident on Monroe Road at Washburn Avenue in Charlotte. So that is our other serious accident going on. That crash on I-77 northbound is clear, but this is what we're seeing right now, and just be aware that there's a lot of congestion surrounding this accident. Drive safely.
All right, thanks, Destiny. And we're going to take a quick break, but keep it right here on WCNC Plus at 8:26. We'll have a quick update on weather and traffic. And you'll see us stream those headlines right here as well. Then at 8:30, we'll be back with more breaking news on WCNC Plus. The time now, 8:26. I'm Megan Bragg.
And I'm Ben Thompson. We continue to follow breaking news out of South Charlotte. A live look right now at the scene where an apartment fire broke out earlier this morning right off Sharon Road West and South Boulevard. This is actually video from earlier today. Just in the last hour, we got this updated video. This is actually from a neighbor there on scene when the fire first broke out around 6 a.m. this morning. And this was serious, folks. We know at least 6 people were taken to the hospital. 3 of them have life-threatening injuries, one with what's considered serious injuries. Richard Devane's been speaking to investigators there on scene and neighbors, and at this point, they still do not know what caused it. We'll have more breaking news coverage over on WCNC Plus.
Staggering video right there, and our day today is starting off cloudy, but we'll see a little bit of sunshine heading in the afternoon before storms really start to greet us by the mid to late afternoon hours into the early evening. High temperatures either side of 90 degrees. Best chance and coverage for storms is really about mid to late afternoon, as I mentioned, but most of the activity should be out of here really about 7 to 9 overall. Temperatures in the lower to the mid 90s after that with daily storm chances. Destiny?
Yeah, there was an earlier crash on I-77 northbound near Gold Hill Road, but things have improved. You'll just be dealing with some congestion from that on I-77 northbound coming from South Carolina into the Charlotte area. So just be aware of that this morning. Also have a crash on Monroe Road at Washburn Ave. Drive safely out there.
morning, and thanks for joining us on WCNC Plus at 8:30. I'm Megan Bragg, and for Lisa.
And I'm Ben Thompson. We start with that breaking news out of South Charlotte. We've been talking about all morning here on WCNC Plus. At least 6 people are injured after a apartment fire there. This is happening over near South Boulevard and Sharon Road West. Richard Devane there live on scene. Richard, you are actually in the middle of speaking to some of those neighbors.
Neck up.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, can you imagine as a father, if your daughter calls you in the middle of the night or early morning, I should say, and well, I'll let, tell us your name, Vanessa.
My name is Vanessa Gilmore.
And you got a call this morning. What happened?
Yes, I don't know, my daughter, she had called my cell phone and I didn't get it answered in time, and so she called on the house phone, and my mom came to me. She said, Courtney wants you to pick up the phone, and you know, all I heard is, Mama, my apartment's on fire, my apartment's getting ready to burn down. And she hung up the phone, and I tried to call her back, and she didn't answer the phone, and so I got dressed real quick, and you know,
you got out here all the way from Gastonia.
Yeah, coming from Gastonia, but it seemed like time stopped. I wasn't going to get here fast enough because I didn't know what was going on.
Now there is good news for her. You telling me about her apartment is on the end of this unit.
Yeah,
and it's protected.
Yes, it's beside the firewall, and so by being next to the firewall stopped the fire. But they said the most she would have is a little bit of water and smoke damage.
Well, thank you so much. I'm glad she's okay, and I know some nervous moments for both of you guys, but she's going to be okay. But we want to point out, this is the damage you see right here. This is what's left of that unit that caught on fire. Some neighbors told us they heard what sounded like a loud explosion, a bang. If we have that video, you can show that video that actually shows how intense these flames were. When the fire department got here, they said it took them about 4 minutes to get here after getting the call, and multiple units. We had this was a 2-alarm fire. They say multiple units came out here and were able to work to get this fire under control. But as you can well imagine, there was a significant amount of damage. You can just see how much damage there is. We did speak to a number of neighbors who said they were awakened by either hearing the loud bang and then walking outside and then seeing what was going on. One neighbor says she was awakened by firefighters knocking on her door and telling her to get out. That video we showed you of the flames was actually somebody else who lives in that same section where the mother of the young lady told us. That same section of this particular unit or this particular part of the complex said that she actually was very calm. She said the firefighters were urgently telling her to leave, but they were calm, and so she was able to calmly get out. And that's what a couple other neighbors told us, how good a job the fire department did. You asked us in the last little bit, Ben, about the people who were involved. 6 people injured, transported. I can tell you that they were all in the same unit, according to the fire department. Investigators tell me they were all in the same unit, and police are also saying that there were at least 11 people who were actually inside that apartment unit at the time that this fire broke out. Right now, this fire is very much under investigation. We can tell you the arson investigators are here also looking at it to try to determine exactly what happened, how it happened. And we also know that the Red Cross is here, as always. It's a good sign when they're here to help those people who've been displaced by this. A couple neighbors tell us they're still waiting to see if they can go inside their apartment and see what's damaged, what's salvageable. And you know, this is the type of thing that happens a lot when we have these fires. People lose everything, but the most important thing that they can say they keep is their lives. They're safe. And right now we're still working to find out the extent of those injuries. We'll get the extent of those injuries. Also, we'll be able to tell you a little bit more about what may have started this fire when investigators give us more information. I spoke to one a little bit ago who said it's just too early to release any of that to us right now. But of course, as we get it, we do know, like Ruben is showing you, the Red Cross is on the scene. They're here as usual to help out those families who've been displaced. That we've already seen them talking to some folks, offering their assistance. So we'll continue to be here and find out what we can and present it to you throughout all of our social platforms. We are reporting live right here off of Archdale. How are you doing? This is Richard Devane. Guys, send it back to you.
And Richard, when we usually report on this, we hear a lot about smoke detector issues and that sort of thing. But I'm wondering, did anyone else's smoke detector go off when this was going on? Have neighbors told you anything about smoke detectors?
every single neighbor I spoke to did not mention their smoke detectors. That's something people mentioned right away. Excuse me, did your smoke detector go off? Did your smoke detector go off? We're going to find out from her. She said no. And the other neighbors I spoke to said they were asleep. They were not waken up by smoke detectors. They were actually awakened by the fire crews telling them to get out. And so I don't know about if there were working smoke detectors or if folks, so far I've spoken to, this would make about 6 to 7 people. I would say 6 to 7 people who actually were either inside this unit or close by, and not one of them has mentioned, because that's something people mention. My smoke detector went off and I heard something, but everybody I've spoken to said they were awakened by either the sounds of the fire department or the fire department knocking on their door or someone else yelling for them to get out. I didn't hear anything from anyone saying anything about smoke detectors.
Richard,
but that's something, of course, we'll look into.
We have a soundbite that you got for us that we want to listen into. If we can, let's go to that soundbite.
Yeah.
They did a really good job, because when the fire, it went from the, it looks like the balcony, it went up to the top of the building, and it was actually crossing over to our side of the building. And they did a really good job taking it out. Just red everywhere, like flames engulfing everything. The tree caught on fire some.
And to see this.
And then they cut down one of the trees too.
And I'm going to, as we come back here live, that was Jennifer who gave us that video right there. That's the tree she's talking about that caught on fire, and they had to cut this one down. You can see it singed. I can get a better perspective from where I'm standing now. You can see just how much damage occurred. But she was the one who also said her and her girlfriend said they were very calm. There were 4 of them inside of the unit that they were inside of, and they were hoping that no one was injured. Of course, we had to tell them that some people were transported. Again, we were told by police as well that there were 11 people inside the unit, that main unit that caught fire this morning, 6 of them having to be treated and transported.
Richard Mebane, we'll let you go back to speaking to neighbors and investigators there. Keep us posted. Yeah. Of course, we'll continue to cover this all morning long here on WCNC Plus. Richard, thank you. Turning now back to your forecast right now at 8:37. And Chris, a weather impact alert issued for today. Okay, I think Chris's mic is off. We're on WCNC Plus, so we can take a second and take a beat and get him to turn that microphone back on.
Yeah, I don't even know how that happened.
There you go.
There we go. I didn't even go anywhere. What have I been doing over there? But anyways, we have one rain shower that we have across the area from Wadesboro over to Lylesville, and we actually have a camera there so we can focus in on that across the area. Here it is. You can see some of those darker clouds off into the distance. This is a great camera too. It's not as high as Dallas is up, so less than 1,000 feet, but still we can pivot around here. So you're looking off toward the west right now, where we're actively seeing some rain, and across the area this is pretty much the only rain shower that we're dealing with for the short term, and you're going to see this one pass by pretty quickly. So just a little bit of moderate rainfall that we're seeing there, some of those descending clouds. So but yeah, could have a quick little burst of rain, but really nothing major in the short term. And it looks like the best chance for rain is really going to be a little bit later on in the afternoon. And here's Monroe, a cloudy start over there. Lylesville is the only one that actually had some sunshine. We'll get rid of these clouds eventually, but it is all in all a cloudier day today. That's why we have actually a cooler high temperature. 2 p.m. till about 9 p.m. That is our weather impact window. The time to stay weather alert. Flooding, gusty winds, and lightning are the trio for today. Don't have to worry about any tornadoes nor any hail. Those are the big 3. And the flooding potential is actually more isolated and kind of comes to the catch. Those areas that saw some heavier rain yesterday are the ones that are going to be most likely impacted. We don't have as much of a, hey, this storm's going to sit or this storm is going to move as slow scenario as we did yesterday. Yesterday was kind of the primer. So today is really, if we compound some of that rain, it's going to be a bigger deal. Here's a look at our futurecast by about noon. I would even say by about 11 o'clock. So I'm just going to go from my own intuition and what pretty much happened yesterday. See this little cell? I think we have 1 or 2 storms that start to bud between about 11 11 to noon here in the mountains. Then from noon to 2, we start to see them flourish right around here. So what oftentimes happens in this scenario is, since the mountains are a little bit higher up, they're the first ones that actually condense everything because they don't have as high to go up into the atmosphere. So that heat and humidity rises up. You have one storm, usually not as strong, and then it starts to work its way down the mountains. And as that happens, it's interacting with more heat and humidity, especially the further we get into the day, and that allows for more scattered storms. Then the cool air from the rain flows out in different directions, so more storms start to form. So between about 4 to 6 o'clock, I think we're almost going to double the amount of storms that are here on the map. You can see it there. And then oftentimes they can cluster together, and when they join their stormy hands, you can have a bigger blob of thunderstorms, and at that point, it sometimes can lead to an enhanced wind risk. I think any one of these storms on its own could have what's called a wet microburst. That's how we have about 90% of our wind damage across the area. The cold air drops the surface, plops the winds out in different direction. A wet microburst, downburst, different words to describe it. But then once these storms can sometimes form a line that is going to be a possibility, especially south of I-85 to conclude the afternoon and start off the evening, that's where they could be a little bit stronger. So what I'm just saying here is, yes, we have a window of 2 to 9, but I think really late afternoon to the early evening, let's pinpoint it to about 5 to 8, right around the I-85 corridor in areas south and southeast. That's where I think we're going to have the most active zone for severe thunderstorm warnings. But we could have the earliest one around 2 north and northwest of Charlotte. How much rain are we going to see? I think up to 1/4 inch is most of the totals that we see, but we're going to have some extremes up to about 1 to 2 inches. Yesterday, the extreme was close to 3 to 4 inches, and that was mainly just outside of our viewing area where we had the multitude of warnings that I showed you the last half hour. And that excessive rain impact, this is just a fancy meteorological jargon for saying, hey, heavy rain could lead to some localized flooding. We have a medium threat, no high threat for today. And that's also designated that these storms should move a little bit faster and they're not in the active zone. So again, that active window from about 2 to 9 o'clock is the flooding, gusty winds, and lightning. So stay weather alert in the short term. For our extended forecast, for the 7-day forecast, my graphics and clicker are having a horrible time trying to activate. We are looking at a high temperature range really from about 92 to 95 going forward. Today's the only day that I have a high just shy of 90 degrees. Now, some of us who see a little more sunshine will get to 90, 91, but 92, 93 is what we really have Friday heading through the weekend. Saturday and Sunday stand out from the rest, though. We only have a 20% chance for rain, the typical isolated pop-up shower and thunderstorm. Once you get to 40, that's more of a scattered environment like what we're going to have today. So those uptick in rain chances really continue next week, but at least Saturday and Sunday, you only have a chance for 1 or 2 brief storms instead of them potentially turning more widespread. So that's your weather report. Let's head over to traffic, see how it's going with Destiny.
Yeah, while we have no accidents at this time on I-77 northbound in South Carolina, in South Charlotte, we're still seeing a lot of that congestion. This is I-77 northbound near Carowinds. And you can see that on the map here. It's just been a rough time of it for the past couple of hours, coming all the way up from Fort Mill to South Charlotte, so or south of Uptown entirely. So this morning, that has been the story, so just plan ahead if you can. We still have this crash on Washburn Avenue at Monroe Road. We do know this is an injury incident this morning, and there are delays on neighboring roads in the area. We also have these crashes. So this is just west of Bank of America Stadium in Uptown, West Moorhead Street at South Cedar Street. You can see the congestion on West Moorhead, and then also I-77 in this area is not so great either. So just an issue all around. We also have an accident here causing slow impacts on East Sugar Creek Road. The right lane is blocked. This is the plaza at East Sugar Creek Road. So those are the accidents that we have as of this morning, but just plan for that congestion pretty much in a lot of areas across Charlotte.
All right, Destiny, sounds good. 8:44 right now here on WCNC Plus, and live pictures right now from the White House there in D.C. And this morning, global markets reacting to President Trump's latest round of tariff threats. NBC's Alice Barr has more on the letters he sent out overnight, urging deals by August 1st.
This afternoon or tomorrow morning.
President Trump reigniting trade tensions with a new series of letters to trading partners imposing tariffs from 20% on imports from the Philippines up to 50% on Brazil.
Brazil, as an example, has been not good to us, not good at all.
The president acknowledging politics played a role in the hefty Brazil tariff, pointing to the prosecution of his ally, former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, for attempting to hold on to power after losing Brazil's 2022 election, calling the trial a witch hunt that should end immediately. President Trump has drawn parallels to his own criminal charges after losing the 2020 election that were dropped when he won in November. Brazil's current president saying the country will not accept being abused and will respond to the tariffs. As President Trump also said the U.S. has a trade deficit with Brazil, when the U.S. Trade Representative says it was actually a surplus for the U.S. last year. The president asked how his administration arrived at the new tariff rates.
The formula was a formula based on common sense, based on deficits, based on how we've been treated over the years.
The Senate's top Democrat slamming President Trump for not delivering on his promised 90 trade deals in 90 days.
He kicks the can down the road again and again. He talks a big game but shows little follow-through or strategic understanding.
As the president asserts setting tariffs by letter is a more efficient means to a deal. The new tariff rates are set to take effect August 1st, along with a separate 50% tariff on copper, which President Trump said is the second most used material by the Defense Department, vowing that America will build a dominant copper industry. Until that happens, however, Americans could see prices jump for products like appliances and electric vehicles. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Within a matter of hours last weekend, Tropical Depression Chantal dropped inches of rain across the triangle, causing major destruction.
And now North Carolina climatologists say storms like this one could become even more common. Reporter Heidi Kirk explains what you can do now to prepare for the next tropical system.
It's a storm that rolled in over a holiday weekend, breaking dams, cresting rivers, and flooding roads, homes, and businesses. It's also the type of storm that climatologists say North Carolinians may need to watch out for.
I think what we've learned from Chantal is that no matter how strong a storm is, what its winds look like, even what it's classified as, we can see this threat of heavy rain anywhere in the state from any sort of tropical system.
Climatologist Corey Davis says tropical systems are changing. In North Carolina, we're seeing more with characteristics of severe thunderstorms, dropping excessive rain in unexpected places.
So what was so surprising with this storm is that not only did it end up bringing big rainfall totals, but those totals came very far inland, hundreds of miles away from the coast, where even in some of our big hurricanes, we haven't really seen amounts like that.
Now, in the past, you may not have paid too much attention to any of these tropical systems, but Davis said now you might want to, knowing the type of damage that they can cause. WRAL meteorologist Kat Campbell says we've already surpassed the number of damage reports in the triangle from last year.
Last year, we had 568 reports of damage. This year, we're only just over halfway through the year and we've already surpassed that number. We've had 574 reports of damage.
That's a trend that's being seen in other places. Just this week, Texas and New Mexico also recovering from damage caused by flooding. Chantal is just the latest to make its mark on our state.
Great report there, and I have to agree. I just want to show you some of the storms that we've had so far, and what's really interesting is that two of them are actually above average as far as when they usually hit. So storm number 2 are the B names, and storm number 3 is the C names. So we had Chantal that officially formed on July 5th, made landfall, and then quickly was gone by July 6th. But then on June 29th, we had Tropical Storm Barry. And what was really interesting about Barry in general is that when Barry made landfall, it just stalled over Mexico. And then eventually, we started to see the moisture start to work its way into Texas, which actually, after a week, worked its way far enough off towards the north that it did actually kind of aid the amount of moisture that was in the air that eventually led to the flooding right around July 4th. Meanwhile, we had that extensive flooding that was happening from Chantal on the western side. That was an increase of moisture as well. Not from a tropical system, but sometimes it's not the direct impacts, it's the indirect impacts of some of these systems that is really leads to the heaviest rain. Now, I also was digging up some stats. So I went back over the last 30 years and found the wettest days, like the single one-day total that we've had here in Charlotte. And what's interesting is pretty much Most of these, the only exception would be July 17th in 2004, most of these were influenced and impacted by some sort of tropical system or the leftovers. For instance, we had Helene arrive as a tropical storm, barely, then before it turned over to a tropical depression. We saw 4.26 inches from that. But what's interesting is Debbie, which you probably don't remember that one as much as Helene, well, actually on August 8th, that was one of the wettest August days in Charlotte history. Then we had Tropical Storm Ada in 2020. Florence, over 4 inches of rain back in September 2018. Julia, Faye, and the remnants of Danny is actually the wettest day that we have in Charlotte history. 6.88 inches of rain fell on July 23rd, 1997. So yeah, these tropical systems are a big influence and a big impact about how much rain we're going to see. Speaking of, our rain totals are all over the place. Yesterday, we actually saw a decent downpour in some areas, but other areas did not. So I think it's going to see really a similar situation to what we had today or yesterday. Over 2 inches of rain fell around Lincolnton. Well, I think we could have up to 1 to 2 inches fall for some areas, but not everyone's going to see that. So real quickly, looking at some of our rain ranges that we could see for the rest of today, up to about 1.5 inches to 2 inches will be a possibility for some of us, but really a lot of us could see less than 1 inch when this is all said and done. So one last look, just looking at our passing showers and thunderstorms, our window of opportunity for you to stay weather alert is from 2 to 9. So around 5 o'clock, things are most active around the Charlotte area. These spread their way off down to the southeast. There's a lot of space in between, so it's not a guarantee that you see storms. They just become more numerous as we work our way into the evening. Southeast of Charlotte from about 7 to 9, and thereafter, those storms should be out of here. And then that's where we have those daily rain chances that soon follow, lower to the mid-90s Friday through the weekend, heading into next week. That's your weather report. Let's look one more time at how traffic's faring this morning.
Yeah, this morning we do have a lot of congestion in the South Carolina, Fort Mill area as you're heading into Charlotte. This is I-77 northbound near Carowin. So this is mostly the story this morning. That's where we're seeing a lot of that congestion is really just northbound coming up from South Carolina. So if we go in closer here, we can see some more incidents. This is new. Disabled vehicle has the right lane blocked on Fairview Road East at Foxton Court. Just a medium impact right there, but the lane is blocked, so that is making a difference for some people. This accident is in the intersection of West Moorhead Street and South Cedar Street, just west of Bank of America Stadium. And then we also have an accident with the right lane blocked on Sugar Creek Road south at the plaza. You can see the medium impact there, and it gets slower as you approach the intersection. Drive safely.
Hi, this is Roy Sprinkle. Time for On This Day in History. This event happened. The year was 1962, the launch of Telstar. By the way, pretty interesting. Telstar was the first communication satellite launched to transmit live TV signals and phone conversations across the Atlantic Ocean. That happened back in 1962. Just think all that's taken place since then. By the way, the size of this only about the size of a beach ball, but that happened 1962, the launch of Telstar. On This Day in History, I'm Larry Sprinkle.
Summer camp may be top of mind for a lot of families this time of year, but it's important to make sure your kids have fuel to stay safe in the sun. Let's look at the everyday impact that a hydrating lunch can have on kids spending time outside.
As kids head to summer camps or spend time playing outdoors, remember to keep them hydrated. Doctors recommend children need anywhere from 4 to 6 cups of water a day, depending on their activity level. Kelly Holmesley with Novant Bariatric Solutions says, if getting your kids to drink enough water is hard, find engaging ways to encourage them.
With my son, like getting him to drink water throughout the day can be really challenging, especially if they're at camp and you're not there with them to remind them constantly. So let them partake in picking a water bottle, for example. Something that small can help. So maybe it's their favorite color. Maybe they put superhero stickers or Disney princess stickers on there.
An easy way to add hydration is by adding snacks and lunches that contain tons of water, and giving kids a choice is crucial.
There's no sense in buying all of the produce, packing it in their lunch if they're not actually going to eat it. So start there. But for example, cucumbers, celery, zucchini, peppers, lettuce, tomato, berries, peaches, watermelon. These all are made of 90% or more water.
Holmesley also suggests finding creative ways to display their food in hopes it will help them eat it.
You know, maybe you thread the berries on a fun skewer or make a fun dip, whether that be hummus or, I mean, even a salad dressing is perfectly fine if that's going to encourage them to eat it. You can also do ants on a log with celery, so that can be fun.
Holmesley adds that having a treat waiting at the end of the day can also be rewarding while adding an extra dose of hydration.
Good things to keep in mind. Like we say, it can be dangerously hot out there.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
All right, we're going to take a quick break as we take a live look right now over uptown. Another check of traffic and weather coming your way, and we'll continue to follow that breaking news. 6 people sent to the hospital after an apartment fire in South Charlotte, just around the corner from South Boulevard. More on that throughout the morning right here on WCNC Plus. Live now at 8:56. I'm Ben Thompson.
And I'm Megan Bragg. We are on top of breaking news in South Charlotte, where 6 people were injured in an early morning apartment fire. This is video of the fire on Winter Oaks Lane, right off of South Boulevard and Sharon Road West. You can see it right there. That is from a neighbor who shared this video with us. We know 3 of those injuries are life-threatening. Investigators are still trying to figure out how that fire started, and we'll continue to have breaking news coverage over on WCNC Plus.
Thanks a lot, Megan. Well, we are looking at a chance for scattered storms today. Some of them could be strong to severe, and also we could have a little bit of flash flooding. That's why we're the alert for today. Just a general thunderstorm setup that we typically have during the summertime during your afternoon on Friday, and then isolated storms possible in the lower 90s Saturday, Sunday, mid 90s on Monday with scattered storms returning. Let's head over to Destiny for one quick look at traffic.
2 big incidents to know about: an accident in Uptown, West Moorhead Street at South Cedar Street. This is just west of Bank of America Stadium. And we also have an accident a little further east, right lane block, Sugar Creek Road south at the plaza.